Hey everyone, Gravity here. Before the video begins, I simply ask that if you enjoy my content to hit that subscribe button below. Nowhere else on YouTube are you going to find a Battlefield player who's played with teams competitively since Battlefield 1942 nearly 18 years ago. Don't forget to subscribe, and please enjoy the video. Over the nearly 20-year history of the Battlefield franchise, there have been many great maps worthy of praise. Some maps become legendary, icons themselves of the Battlefield series and worth remembering for their balance, uniqueness, and special gameplay. This is the story of the best maps in Battlefield. Almost immediately after its launch, I made a vow that I would not review any of the remastered maps of Battlefield 2042's Portal Mode. This was done for various and plainly obvious reasons. Some of the maps felt like the scale was off compared to the original gameplay was tarnished or poorly replicated, they were being used for an incomplete Battlefield experience, and the main game mode was originally not designed for play on these maps. That last point is why I am here now. The Portal maps were originally thought to be completely separate from the main all-out warfare mode. And yet, in 2042's Season 1 they have been reintroduced, repurposed really, into the 64-player Exodus Conquest playlist, complete with 2042 weapons, specialists, and an attempted pass of vehicle numbers and balance. Of the 6 Portal maps which are included in 2042 as of this moment, only one of them is worth looking at, and that is Bad Company 2's Valparaiso. And why is this exactly? It is because, somehow, unintentionally, it is probably the best map in 2042 with regard to balance, map flow, and all-around positive player experience. The first question which needs to be asked is how this is even possible. After all, this is a Conquest playlist, and Valparaiso, in Bad Company 2 at least, did not have a Conquest variant of the map. It is exclusively meant for Rush. It was a very thin, constricted, and winding map meant for teams to push along the coast. There was no way that a 128, let alone 64-player Conquest would work in that layout. The other Bad Company 2 map imported to this game, Arica Harbor, faces a similar situation, and received a moderate expansion for 2042. Arica Harbor, however, already had a Conquest mode in Bad Company 2, and the remaining map layout from its Rush mode became the terrain for this expanded map. However, 2042's Arica Harbor Conquest, despite its new layout, just doesn't come close to being as good as the updated sibling. And so this brings us to 2042's version of Valparaiso. With the blueprint of its Rush mode in their pocket, level designers created entirely new sections of the map by filling in gaps along the existing border. These significant additions nearly double the original size of the playable area, but more than that, the way in which they did it essentially creates an entirely new experience. It is because of this that I almost consider 2042's Valparaiso Conquest a new map altogether. First, unlike many other Portal maps, Valparaiso points are categorized in 2042 map sectors, with 7 flags being divided between the fishing port, lighthouse, and hilltop zones. The A1 and A2 flags are part of the fishing port zone. While the A2 flag will be familiar to Bad Company 2 players as the first MCOM zone of Rush, the A1 flag is in a newly renovated area of the map where the US team would originally be attacking from. The flag itself is nothing special, and only possesses a few huts and trees with which to seek cover. The B sector is divided between 3 flags, 2 of which continue to implement the route of Bad Company 2's Rush layout. The first of these is the B1 flag, notable for its clustered buildings and large lighthouse to the south. The lighthouse is fully accessible as in the Bad Company 2 version, and remains a dominant location to place spawn beacons and snipe from. The B3 flag to the east is the second familiar flag, the fishing village. This flag is the most dense on the map, providing vast amounts of cover in the forms of buildings, shacks, and boats within its huge capture radius. Lastly, the B2 flag is another new addition to the map and the final flag of the sector. B2 is actually a really nice flag, as its buildings are placed compactly on each side of the dirt road running through. While both sides of the street are in the capture radius, the amount of cover and spawn protection each offers means that battles can rage here longer than other points, as hidden enemies hunker down and new allies attack from the high ground surrounding the point. More on this high ground in a moment. Lastly, there is the third sector consisting of points C1 and C2. The C1 flag remains up slightly elevated terrain and has a similar but not entirely exact replica of the penultimate rush point from Bad Company 2, as it is missing a few structures and the layout is a bit different. Nevertheless, it is a solid point. Meanwhile, C2 is the final new flag on the map. Also aligned along the coast with fishing huts and a sizable flag radius with plenty of cover, it is a flag which gets less action than it might deserve. This brings us to the discussion of map flow and the significance of the flag layout. First, the C1 and A1 flags feel similar in that they are the least visited locations on the map. This isn't a bad thing. 1, because they are not bad flags. 2, because not every flag needs to be a hot zone. And 3, their positions are literally perfect as they serve a critical role in map balance and player rotation. It is excellent map design to have multiple flags which are targetable just outside of both teams' main bases. These help prevent against base camps by giving teams multiple routes to attack and split the defending team. This also adds additional pull flags to the map, decreasing the possibility of an all cap altogether. Speaking of the main bases, 2042's Conquest Valparaiso features an incredibly rare but consistently beneficial mechanic of having multiple uncapturable spawn points. These provide multiple lanes for players and, more importantly, new vehicles to enter the main map without being camped with impunity. Moreover, their locations make the map gameplay more dynamic by creating unpredictability and more options of where players choose to spawn, attack, and move next. The vehicles of Valparaiso also deserve a note, because unlike some of the other maps imported into the All-Out Warfare mode, it was almost perfect in its vehicle pool numbers, though I'm disregarding the fact that vehicle pools are a terrible game design altogether. It is critical that these pool numbers are as balanced as possible, since all maps in 2042 feature 0 vehicles which spawn empty on flags in Conquest. Any slight uptick in numbers could create vast imbalance and poor player experience. I'm looking at you, No Shark Canals. You don't need 2 attack or stealth helicopters per team. That is just stupid. Anyway, Valparaiso drops 4 light transport vehicles, a good number for mobility, 2 armored vehicles, the right amount given the map size, player count, and limited roads, 1, and only 1, air attack vehicle, meaning you can never have more than 1 attack helicopter destroying a team at a time, and 2 heavy transports. This category is the only one on the map which is a detriment, as it allows the possibility and frequent occurrence of 2 concurrent Condors or Super Hinds at a time per team, each already being sometimes difficult to destroy. I understand that the idea is to provide the option for a MAV alongside the VTOL, but in practice this rarely happens and provides an example against vehicle pool game design. To improve the map as is, this category should be reduced to 1 per team. One of the things which makes Valparaiso so damn good is its terrain and layout. Like its Bad Company 2 brethren, the map features significant high ground and cliff edges. Unlike in that game though, you can not only scale it, but they are expanded to encompass large portions of the map. Most of the high ground is located in the horizontal center and can mostly be accessed via hills from the north. This is actually pretty unique, as it gives incentive to push northern flags like B2. Valleys through the hills provide multiple pathing options for players looking to flank or avoid a conflict. These hills, while not having an overabundance of cover, provide a whole new opportunity for sniper positions, multi-kills, and flanks. In fact, the limited height of the cliffs and the very lack of cover prevents squads from fortifying and camping a spot, and provides a high-risk, high-reward element. Being symmetrical is another advantage of the map, as there is usually a good order of battle, meaning you know where to go next and where the enemy will attack from. But more importantly, the flag layout, minimal distance between them, and multiple pathing options make it one of the most dynamic and action-packed maps of the game. Of course, Valparaiso isn't perfect. While the map occasionally suffers from some lighting and texture glitches as well as some poor spawn locations, by far the worst element of it is the terrain issues with the rocks along the vertical cliffs. Similar to those on Exposure, they have a tendency to act like a flat vertical surface and players just slide down them most of the time. Conversely, it makes it extremely difficult to climb without the use of McKay's grapple, and this is a problem. While the ability to access the middle high ground between the points is fantastic, routes up them are extremely limited. From certain flags, it is almost impossible to quickly scale the cliffs without the proper specialist or air vehicle. Therefore, a few hook lines here and there, or an extra climbing path, would be good additions. Of the classic maps selected to be in Portal, the Battlefield Bad Company 2 choices were probably among the best candidates to port. But unlike Arica Harbor, the redesign of this map to fit 64-player Conquest and do it extremely well is incredibly surprising given the rest of 2042's experience. It possesses an allure of Bad Company 2's art style and map layout, plentiful assets and cover, numerous hiding spots and pathing options, solid lighting, limited vehicles to obliterate a team, and fast-paced, rotational gameplay desperately missing from the majority of Battlefield 2042. And most importantly, unlike the other maps of Portal, it feels new. Having never possessed a Conquest Mode in Bad Company 2, its new flags, environment, and 2042 gameplay give it an impression that it's wholly original. In short, Valparaiso in 2042 is by far the game's most unexpected map success story.